Well, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are around the world and around the country. And welcome to another episode of the Buddhist Biohacker. Our mission is to create conscious content for living in 1111D as we build a bridge to new reality. And I'm really excited to be back on the air today. It's Podcast Wednesday. For those of you who are joining in on the live, I see you guys coming in. Come on in. You can write in the live chat your comments and questions. If you're listening later to this on iTunes or Spotify or Podbean, you can absolutely share your questions and comments on our MeWe forum at mewe.com and go to Buddhist Biohacker. We have a whole forum discussion going on in there, which is really great to join our community. And last but not least, do not forget to click subscribe. Every time you click that subscribe button here on YouTube, you'll be notified when we go live with any of our guests and any of our special 1111D content. So welcome. So again, I'm your host, Lisa Gunshore, and I'm really excited about today's topic and excited for our guest today. She was part of our April summit and will be back on with us in June and is starting to be old hat here on Buddhist Biohacker. Gosh, can I talk today? I'm not very grounded today, you guys. I've been watching a whole thing about Gandhi today and I'm like, boop, out of my body. Anyways, Rachel, welcome back to the show. It's so nice to have you.
Thank you, Lisa. I appreciate it. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, we're so happy. So I want to start out, I really want you to just get everyone up to speed with who you are and what you're doing these days. So if you want to share that first, and then we'll dig into our topic, which, by the way, everybody, our topic today is about women and our changing economic platforms. So this is a good, juicy topic for us right now at this time. So anyways, go ahead, Rachel, share who you are. We want to hear.
So I'm Rachel Gerlach. I am the owner and founder of a couple different businesses. You may have seen me or heard me speaking with NutritionWorks of Colorado. We are a functional health practice where we work with individuals to help identify root cause of their discomfort or dis/ease, not disease, right?
Yeah.
And then we work from the whole being, right? The spirit, from the nutritional perspective, from a mindset perspective, your lifestyle, looking at you as a whole human and up-leveling your health to help you reach your goals. And during the, as we're calling it, global event, I also had a massive shift where I decided, you know what, this is the time. This is the time, period. I had been having this brewing within myself that I'm like, ooh, I know this. I recognize this. There's been a couple times in my life where I'm like, it's there. I just don't know what it is. And when all of this started to happen, I was like, this is it. This is the time. And this is what I'm going to do. And so I opened Free Your Mind Coaching, which is mindset lifestyle coaching, basically life coaching for mompreneurs who are seeking financial and marital freedom. And so that has been an interesting shift. And a huge piece of that is talking about our economy and where women play in it. And specifically right now is the time for women, if they have been contemplating going out in and starting their own businesses and becoming an entrepreneur, now is the time to do this. I feel like we've got this like crack in our economy. And these are just my words, but there's just this feeling, right? There's a crack. And if we don't take the time to start to like get in there and pry it open, then I feel like it could close back up on us. And that is not what I want to do. I want women to really take advantage of this because the whole platform has changed. They're at home, it's changed. You know, their finances may have changed. How we're going to business has changed, which I believe actually how we're going to business is more conducive to women, especially women caregivers. So that was created and now we're here. That's what I have been up to besides homeschooling and like, you know, all that other stuff that we're all doing.
Oh my gosh, I love it. And yeah, it's a journey, isn't it? The homeschooling and trying to make sure, and now it's summertime here in the US. And so I don't know about you, Rachel, but my stepkids were all on summer vacation.
Yeah.
And so in some ways you'd think it'd be like back to normal, but it's not. It's really weird, isn't it? It's like, okay, everyone's home, and how am I going to teach and be creative and have this environment that's conducive for them to continue their own growth and development in the world, even though school is out. And I don't think I would have thought of it that way had we not had the homeschooling for the last couple months. I'm just curious what your thoughts are on that.
This is, yeah, I have so many thoughts. Believe me, just ask me on any given day. So many thoughts about this, but it's this like beautiful, um, enlightening pain is kind of how I feel like it is, right? It's like I'm seeing so much of my children now and helping all of us become creative, because it was so easy. Like, oh, bye-bye, you go to school, somebody else is taking care of it. I get to do my thing. And then they come home and then we like go back together as a family. And now it's like, how do we all come together and co-create what the summer looks like so everybody's needs are getting met? And sometimes it works beautifully and sometimes it doesn't. Right? It's like this
Yeah.
is like such a great experiment, but it's like some of it is painful, but all of it is enlightening.
Yep.
And right. And so it is creating a dynamic shift, at least in my house it is
Yeah, and it's
positive
interesting
and
because you
negative.
really see, you're right about like, oh, they went to school and you kind of forget about it. It's like now that they're home so much, it's pretty obvious where the work is. It's like,
Mhm.
oh, we need to work on this, or we need to talk about this. Or, I mean, I just have noticed it really has magnified like where as a family unit we need to work on as a group, and also where each child is at and each parent, each of us is at, individually too. It's been kind of an interesting experiment, I feel.
Yeah, it's interesting. I just coached a client on this today about her. She said she felt like she was behind. I'm behind with my son's success because she was like, I don't know what to do. And quite frankly, I don't want to do we have Common Core math. Is something okay?
I'm just seeing somebody pop up on the screen and kick them out. Go
And I
ahead.
think, it does shine a light onto us that maybe we're not educators, but how do we want to start to show up with this particular, how do we want to feel as parents? How do we want to show up as parents? And I don't know about you, but for my kids, it's really important for me that they start navigating their own lives and using their brains to create what they want. And so I think what we're seeing is a shift of kids that have, like you said, like right, you go to school, you go to this classroom, you're told to do this assignment. And now, excuse me, it's like, I want you to go find something that you're interested in and you want to research. And it's kind of like, what? I can do that? I have
Mhm.
authority? Right? So that part has actually been really fun for me. I'm sure not for them so much. But for me, I'm like, oh, cool.
I
Go figure this out and bring it back because that's what you're interested in. Think for yourself rather than just follow.
Yeah, for sure. So you said mompreneur. And although that's pretty obvious what you're talking about, I'd love to hear more about how you define a mompreneur and what you're seeing shift from maybe what mompreneur looked like in January versus what it looks like today.
Yeah. So mompreneur is the mother who is, how do I phrase it? She is the mom that has this budding business or a small business that she's doing on the side while she's a caretaker for her family or her children. And usually what I see is that the business gets her leftovers.
Mm.
So, right, everything kind of comes first. And then the business is like kind of secondary, tertiary, right? Like it just kind of gets the leftovers. So it just exists, but she really, really, really wants it to thrive. And most times I'm finding that it's really because of their mindset around what they think where they think their energy should be projected. You know, the guilt of taking time to go into the office and run a business. And mompreneurs really need the flexibility and the dynamics of, what we're experiencing now of working from home, being able to create their own schedules, being able to work when it's best for their time and their family's time, which you don't see typically, at least in the United States, in corporate America. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of the mompreneur. She's like got this, she's got a little bit of a gig going on, but it really never gets all that much of her because everything is being sent elsewhere. But she really, really, really wants it to. She wants to have her own money and she wants that freedom.
I have to take a deep breath. That is so much of what I've lived. And I have a unique situation because I'm a step parent to 4 kids. So I have 4 kids. I say only, but it's still a lot of work. But I have 4 kids every other week. First, we're week on, week off. And so my situation's unique because every other week I'm full on in a space with my spiritual work and this podcast and all the things I'm doing where I don't have the interruptions. And then I have a full week where it's like you're full on mom and housekeeper and making sure you're keeping your home the way you need it to be and keeping everyone organized and doing all this stuff. And I've noticed for me, my biggest breakthrough, Rachel, and I'm curious what your thoughts are on this for you and your clients that you work with, but one of my biggest breakthroughs really was during this, global event, where it became obvious, like, I just need to do my work. And if one of the kids busts in on this podcast, that has to be okay. And there was this letting go of this perfectionist kind of viewpoint. And also that letting go, that what you just said about giving your business the leftovers, it was like, oh, if I have time, I'll do these things during this time. And there was this kind of breakthrough for me where it was like, I just have to do this work. And part of that was the drive. I mean, spiritually, there's this drive, but I also think as a stepmompreneur, there was this moment where I just broke through that barrier of like, I have to do this, whether they're here or not. Like, this has to happen and it has to be okay. And in doing that, it was okay. It was like, oh, this is actually okay. And really nothing's changed. And except that I feel far more fulfilled and happier.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm just wondering what your thoughts are about that, your experiences, and also your, what you've seen with your clients.
Yeah. It's like, there's so much there. I think we've been taught societally that we don't talk about the kids. They shouldn't interrupt the business, whether you're an entrepreneur or not, right? We keep them in the background, we keep it quiet, and we really focus on the job. And now it's like, why are we doing that? Because they are a huge reason why we get up and go to work every day, why we go to make money. And it's like, and this is just, and to be honest, like, it's a fact. You have children and we are working from home and life is not perfect. And is that even the definition of perfect? Is that your children never come in when you're doing a podcast? Because we're going to fail. So just sign up for failing and be okay with it. So that dynamic, I think I love the shift of like saying, okay, you have children and we're going to accept the fact that they are going to be part of this in whatever facet, whether they're interrupting or not. And one thing that I think a lot of women are realizing during this time is that boundaries, this is also a really good time for us to set boundaries with ourselves and with our children of when I am going to the office, whether that's like, I have a woman, honestly, who I'm coaching. She pulled up her camper into the driveway and she turned it into her office. And I was
that's
like,
so cool.
brilliant. It's like having a she shed in the backyard, but you just, you pull
Oh
it
my
in
God,
the
that's
driveway.
amazing.
Right. So kind of creating this, but really teaching them that this is my boundary and this is important for me to have this time and space. And when you need your time and space, son, daughter, whatever, I'm going to respect it as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then thirdly, you talked about you made an intentional decision to let go. Right? Because it's always the drama in our heads of like, well, I can't, should I, what should it look like? Right? It's everything in our heads, the stories that I call it, until finally when we make a decision. Think about every time in your life when you have made a decision in your mind, the drama kind of drops off, and it is okay because that's just your choice, and your choice is absolutely perfect. So there's so much there. Sorry.
Yeah, there is, because so here we are talking about this, and I know some of you guys who are watching and listening later on the replay are mompreneurs or want to be a mompreneur. And so, Rachel, what's step one, you think? Somebody has either a vision, an idea, a little business they already have, something they want to do, and they're like, well, I want to step into this and do it. What's step one? Like, what do you think is step one to even take that first step into what it is you want to do, and to come out of a place where that's kind of on the back burner?
Mm-hmm. I always say to clients, why? I think it's really, really important. So if you've got this idea and it's been brewing, like mine for Free Your Mind, right? Like I'm like, it's brewing, something's going to happen. Like, hey, y'all, like, I just want to let you know it's going to happen. I just don't know when. I think it's okay. We'll find out. But if you've got this idea going, number one, ask yourself, why is it important to you? Is it a relief to get out of something negative? Is it so that you can serve? Is it so that you can feel like you have more purpose? Is it so that you can create your own money? Is it so you can create your own freedom? What is the why behind possibly stepping into entrepreneurship? Because if the why isn't concrete, right? If it isn't like really deep within yourself, I would say wait, because it's a lot of work, right? The why needs to be able to fuel all of the work, all of the setbacks, all of what we call the failures, which we love. I want you all failing a lot. It has so much information, right? Winning and succeeding is super easy. Doesn't give you a lot of information, but it feels really good. Because you're always going to have to go back to that why. And it's going to have to be, I call it like, think of building a house. It's pouring of the foundation, right? You can't do anything until you've got that foundation, and you're always going to go back on it so number one, figure out your why. And then if you do have that solid why and you're like, now what, right? Then is when you talk to people, you find mentors, you hire coaches, you take a business course, right? You start taking the action so you can start to fulfill that why.
What's your why?
Oh. Nobody has asked me that yet with Free Your Mind coaching. I was like, dang. Okay. So my why is because, so when we talk about Free Your Mind coaching, it's not just entrepreneurs. It really is. I love all entrepreneur women, right? And mompreneurs, but it really is women who come to me because they're unhappy in their marriages. They might want to get out, but they can't because they don't have the money. And they're putting all the pressure onto their business to try to fulfill them with the money so then they can leave.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So my why is because it's so many whys, but it's because I come from a line of this. I come from a line of like women who thought that they could not leave for whatever reasons. And so they stayed. And then it has taught you keep your mouth closed. You take care of everything else before you take care of yourself. You don't ask for the money. You don't ask to go out and have your job and have your own independence, right? And so slowly you just start to shrink and shrink and shrink and shrink. until you are really, really unhappy. And I did that. I followed that modeling. I was like the perfect patient, if you will, or perfect client. And I was so miserably unhappy. I mean, to the point, I remember I went to the doctor and I was like, I really think I'm dying. I like, diagnose me, please diagnose me, because it has to be something. And it wasn't, it was just my own doing of not living to my terms of who I truly was. And who I am is I'm a business owner and I am a thoughtful feminist and I am a strong woman and I am an independent, and all of that was gone. And so that is my why. So no other woman has to like sacrifice her career, her pay. She gets to decide if she's CEO. She gets to decide when she has, a bonus or an advancement or a promotion. She gets to decide when she wants to work. She has her own money so that if she wants to leave her marriage, she can. But guess what? Sometimes when we take that away, it's like you choose your marriage now because there's nothing else attached to it. There's so many whys, but really it's so no other woman has to like experience what me, my mom, my grandma, I'm sure my great grandma has experienced, and many other women out there.
Wow, that's amazing. And it's so true. And I think, in my own practice also, there's many conversations, just like you're talking about, of you don't have to live this way. You have the choice. And I think it comes from a deeper space of forgiveness in a lot of ways, because I think we step into relationships, especially when we're younger. I mean, I think, the more and more conscious and aware you become, right? The more you wake up, the more you can choose a relationship that's aligned with you in who you really are, because you see yourself for who you really are. And I think so many of us all initially, we kind of have a joke in my family about marriage, which is you have to get the first one out of the way. And it's kind of morbid, but at the same time, it's so true, because you almost have to come to that place where it's like, okay, I actually know who I am. And you have to accept and forgive yourself for making a choice from an unconscious place. I think once you can do that, once you can say, okay, I consciously accept that I made this choice when I wasn't aligned with who I am, and now that I am, I forgive myself for that so that I can step into that space. It's such an important, it's an awakening, wouldn't you say?
It's an awakening. And when it happens, it's scary because, right? Because then it's like, wait a second, now what? What do I do with this? Right? Like this that I'm living over here, it's actually not what I really want and what I really need for me to survive, not even survive, but to thrive in this world.
Mm-hmm.
And like live it from a happy place, right? Versus unhappiness. But then what do you do with that? Right? So then it's like, oh shit, like now what do I do? Who am I to leave? I can't leave. How does it look? Shame on me. I feel guilty. I have this perfect life. I have this terrible, there's so much. It's like, so then how do you navigate that? Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what a lot of women need support on. One, permission to go and live your life. Right?
Mm-hmm.
No apologies for what you want. And then two, how do you navigate that? How do you mentally navigate it? What are some steps and walking through the steps of it? And if that's because you have a business and we need to get it financially secure, great, but we're not going to attach it to like you want out because that feels messy. The energy that's attached to that business, no one's going to buy that. It's like really old, faded Lycra Lululemons or something. Nobody wants it. You can't give it away.
That's an amazing analogy.
Right? You can't give that stuff away. Your girlfriends don't want that.
It's true. It's true. Well, and don't you think this has a lot to do with this global event? I mean, we're in a massive global ascension. So everyone's waking up. So when you talk about that crack you said at the beginning, this crack we're prying open, I sort of feel like we're blasting that open right now. It feels like the light is like pushing through that energy. And, it's men and women, but with women, have you noticed, I mean, you've created a whole space for your practice that wasn't there before in this global awakening? So I imagine the answer is yes. But my question is, have you seen a massive shift in your clients or your clientele through this particular global event as everyone is waking up to the new reality and saying, oh my God, I need to live in alignment right now?
Yes. Yes. In so many facets, alignment of, I do want to be into the workforce. Like maybe partners have been laid off and they're like, and they realize like, no, I want to contribute. I don't want to be in this. I want to go out and make my money. Yes. In the sense of like their relationships. I mean, talk about what's it called? Microscope on your relationship when you're together 24/7 now,
Mm-hmm.
right? And now the game has changed. So hopefully the equity and the 50-50 in division of labor is shifting, but now you're seeing it and it's like the exposure on the health of your relationship is so profound right now. So yes, in that sense. Yes, in the sense of like, oh my God, what if, we have a very definitive start and end date, we don't know it on this earth. Do I want this? Right? What if I got the COVID? And what if I got this? And what if I got that? And my end date was like sooner. Do I want to get to that end point and be like, God, I wish I would have?
Mm-hmm.
So many realms that we're seeing this crack because it's like the universe said, like, stop, go in and take a look at what's going on with your life. Because now of any time is the time to go and create what you truly want. And some of us don't really know, but we feel it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I say, get a coach, get a therapist, get somebody that can help you like start to untangle and pull that out and give it meaning and like words to it versus feelings. Take the feeling and give it words so then you can go and do something with it.
Yep. Well, and I want to ask about your process for that because, I've seen with my own clients also that I know something's there. I know I'm ready for a change. I know that something's next. And, my role is to be a vehicle for information. Your role is to be the vehicle for them to take the action. So what's your process? Like when someone says, or even for yourself, like when you went through that process, you just went through it. What did that look? How did you pull that out? Like, how did you get from, I know something's coming to, I'm pulling this out of me now and it's happening?
Well, mine didn't look super pretty. It was not pretty, you guys. It was very impactful.
I felt you.
Did you?
Yeah.
It was a full on breakdown. And I call it, it's funny, it's going to be my book. I swear I have to write a book about this because you keep telling me I have to write a book. Yes. But it's called The Corner of Ohio and Steel. And it's where I had my full on, full release, full breakdown, knowing I have to change this. And once I could get rid of that heavy negativity and that fear and everything, every emotion, I mean, it was every emotion. Once that was out of the way, then what my process is how I coach people. It's all dependent, but my process is I just start writing down what is the result that I want to get. And then from there, I was able to say, okay, if this is the result I'm trying to do, right? I'm trying to get women equal pay. I'm trying to get women to be able to have their own flexibility and independence with their jobs, quote unquote, whether they create it or they go get it. I'm trying to get, there's so many things, right? If this is what I'm trying to get, then what are my tools and my gifts to go and get that? And so that is how my process works. This is what I want. Same thing with NutritionWorks. Is the same thing. I knew something was happening and I just started being like, okay, I love this. This is what I'm trying to change. This is what I believe in. My belief system, strong, right? This is my why. And then I went up the ladder from there and found nutrition therapy, holistic medicine. It's that's my process. When I work with clients, it can be very similar, but because what I'm trying to do with clients from a coaching, because we're not therapists, we don't really take and try to quote unquote fix the past. What we try to do is say, you want this over here. This is how we're going to get it. Okay. Past has happened, but in order to create the future, we have to create something totally different. And so I try to get in your mind, and and that's what I tried to do, right? Is I try to like pull out a statement, pull out a feeling, pull out belief systems and values, and really look at them as how they're serving you. And lots of times it's allowing a space to say what you truly, truly feel without having to take any action. Because that's a big one. Because sometimes we know it in here and we're so afraid to say it, because if we say it, we think we have to act upon it. Sometimes you can say it and just let it sit there, right? Like if you're unhappy and you want to leave your marriage, to say it feels like then I'm obligated to do something, versus being like, no, this is where I'm at now, and I'm just going to let it sit there. I don't have to do anything. It's going to be over there, and it may change. So it's pulling out, untangling, identifying, and really letting you see your own truest desires, your heart, your energy, and your mind.
I love it. I love it. Well, and what's your feeling? You know, we're in the middle of the rise of the divine feminine. So your work is, of course, right in alignment with what's happening on our planet, what's happening astrologically. So when you talk about this crack, like, you know, I read something earlier today on a channel that I follow that's so fabulous. And she said, you know, that we are the founding mothers and fathers of this new world, of this new reality, you know, that we're the rainbow people that are bringing this. And I think, you know, you're a founder at this time, in this present moment, you're a founder of the rise of the divine feminine as entrepreneurs, and also is being brave enough and having the courage to live an aligned, authentic life. So as one of those founders, you know, what's your thoughts on the rise of the feminine? What is your thoughts about the feminine movement in the United States and across the planet right now? I know that's kind of a big question, but I just love to hear what you're thinking and feeling right now.
You know, it's a really good question. My thoughts are, it is about damn time, right?
Yeah.
Like it is, that is part of the reason why I became an entrepreneur, is like, oh, clearly it's not going to shift out there by the time that I have even like off of this earth, and maybe even my daughter has gone through her career. It's just not. When we look at the pace of change, incremental change is way too slow, not just with the divine feminine, but with many things on our earth right now. And so I decided, right, I'm not going to wait for y'all. I'm going to go and I'm going to go do this on my own, and hope I will continue to help the process. But like it's time. And it's time for us to, I think, us as women, to be willing to take on the discomfort of stepping into this power. Because one thing I have experienced of creating this new company is people do not like it when I very clearly say, I'm going to help you make money because you want to leave your marriage. They don't like that. It is too strong. It's too powerful. Women shouldn't say that. They don't like it when I say, look, 95% of executive level positions in Fortune 500 companies are held by men. How are we ever going to get that equal pay when, I'm sorry, white men, but, or men, they're up here dictating what we're going to pay, right? So it is time that we be willing to have hard conversations, to set boundaries and hold them, to create some change and be willing to get super uncomfortable and take people with us to equalize this. It has to change, because our world is never going to be the same. It just isn't. And we can't go back because it wasn't working. So if you have ever wanted something different out there, now is the time to do it. We have identified the weak links, and we can go in there. We have feminine energy to create something for everyone, not just women, men, certain demographics of color of skin, for everyone, equality across the board.
Yep. Well, and it is very much when we talk about power, masculine power versus feminine power, Masculine power looks the way our systems look. Feminine power looks the way that the Druids and the older communities thousands of years ago looks, which was when women held power, and it's not even women, it's when the divine feminine held power. We were living in indigenous cultures where everyone had a place, everybody worked together, everyone had the ability to heal, everybody was equal, and we listened to the great Mother Earth. We watched the stars, we listened to our dreams, we had dances and we sang and we were connected to one another. And so when we talk about the rise of the divine feminine, it's like you're talking about with equality. It's not about suddenly women are going to take everything over, but it's about this feminine energy where we collaborate together, and there's not a single leader. It's a round table. You know, it goes back to King Arthur and Excalibur. I mean, that story is it's the essence of divine feminine energy. It's this idea of we sit at the table together and we decide as a group where we're going, and that's the new reality. And that's where some of us are already living. Yes. Right? You, me, and many of you guys listening and watching in this community are living the new reality in this moment. But it's where we're going as a planet. And so part of what I'm hearing about what you do with your work and, you know, your new work, you know, this new space you've stepped into is empowering women to take ownership and responsibility for what they have to offer. And that's often the scariest part, is saying, I actually do have power. It's not them, whoever they are.
Right.
It's me. And I actually did this to myself. And holy crap.
Right.
That's the hard part. That's the shadow work, right?
That is exactly it. When I coach clients and I work with women and they want to do like, oh, but my husband's doing this, and oh, but I have to take care of the kids. And they're like, we are giving our power away. And what I want to coach them on is actually, no, it's all right here. You get to create whatever you want. It's all about this right here. And are you willing to feel, right, what I call discomfort in order to bravely stand in that? Because once you point it at somebody else, and we pointed at the Fortune 500s, we pointed at, you know, men running executive level positions. Once we start doing that, we give it away, and then we become at the mercy of, at the effect of, and that's not true. We can now create something that looks different than what it has been, and be as equally successful, and then bridge the gap in the middle. And that is what I hope to do for all of us, because like, right? Like, look, I don't admire the other side of things either. Like, we have all of our stuff that we've been given, right? Male, female, non-binary, I don't care, right? We have all of our stuff. And so it really is like, okay, there's more than just this way of doing it. Allow us at least to have some playing space. Allow us to come on the field here and create, and then let's bring it together. That's really it. Empower you to do that. No longer project on something else. It's the most amazing place to live. It is so amazing. And it's a little bit of like, oh, dang, I created all that. That's my ownership. But once you do it, you step into that is like, you're so grounded and you're so clear.
I love it. Well, and it's true. Like, we create our life. I've been saying that for years and years and years. I think I've told every person I've ever read, I'm not a fatalist. You create your life. And we have created kind of a gigantic rat's nest that's now being untangled. And we're seeing it in all directions and all angles. And it starts with us. It starts with that individual moment where someone connects with you and says, okay, I want to do this work. And that work is what's shifting all of us. Like, that's how we get to critical mass. That's how we got to critical mass. We've already hit that in ascension. And it happens because each individual makes those choices.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It really is. And whether you're already there and you're in the process, or you just, this is resonating and you're feeling it, but you don't know what to do. I mean, I think that's what's important, is like to reach out and be willing to invest in yourself, to say, I'm willing to, like, what, I don't care if it's a $5 book off of Amazon or a $15,000 course, but being willing to invest in yourself to continually grow and get to that place. Because if you're not there, I feel like it's our obligation to ourselves to get there. Right? We've got this shot right now. This is it. There is nothing else. Like, well, right in this moment. This is the moment. And it is, we are given this gift of this to be on this earth, and like, to not fulfill it to our highest level, I think is really too bad. It's really a shame. And it is our obligation.
I agree. I like that. Obligation is good. You know, obligation and self-responsibility are two buzzwords, I feel, right now. And, you know, it's up to us to build the bridge. We're building that rainbow bridge. And are we going to build the rainbow bridge, or are you going to stay in the gray? And it's all about getting out of that and going to the new space. So you had this awakening and you're doing this work, and I know you're good at it. For those of you who have not heard our presentation from the April summits, you still can gain access to those at oneheartoneearth.net. And I know you have another one coming up, which again, go to the same website, oneheartoneearth.net, and register. So I know you have a lot to offer everyone. So for everybody who's listening, tune in to what Rachel has to say. You've got some great presentations. And that said, what do you see? What's next for you? Like, what do you see? What is your vision of your new reality with your own work and the work you're doing with your clients and with Free Your Mind? Like, what does that look like for you?
Well, the vision for me is to gain as much exposure to the movement as possible. And I say the movement, and it's my movement, and then all those people who resonate with it. And then, like you said, bridging the gap. Yeah. And so it's really figuring out, who can I serve? But even beyond that, how do I serve at a broad spectrum? Like, how do I get there? And we take this message just beyond here in Denver, the United States, and we bring it globally, that all women can feel empowered. They can feel safe to make their own decisions. We can start to change societal norms. I mean, right, the whole thing. And so I really, like, if I say it, like, I really feel like, hey, Oprah, like, come on, like, we got to talk, we got to put this out there. Right. And with your help and connecting to women that are helping expand the message, that is where I see it going. And whether that's the one-on-one, or at some point we create content that is available at a mass level. And so we can all gain little tidbits. Like, I don't know, this is like 4 weeks in the making. And so I'm kind of like letting this play and seeing what comes and what happens. But I do know that this feels really big for me. And this feels like the most important thing that I need to bring to our population at this point. I always said it was like that, or I feel like I might get arrested for something because I'm being really, like, I was like, if you get a call, I just don't ask questions, just come help. But I felt it. It was so important that I had to get it out there. So I would say stay tuned, because I'm going to see what happens, where this goes.
Well, we have a lot to talk about. I feel like I have like so many things turning in my brain right now that are going on with Buddhist Biohacker that you have to be a part of, because I miss you. I really missed you. I'm like talking to you today and I'm like, man,
we got to catch up.
In your face. I know, it's so true. And, for everybody listening, there are lots of life coaches, and truly at the end of the day, we need each and every life coach. I mean, we really do need many, many coaches. It is the time for all of us to be here to support each other. That said, you're such an excellent coach, Rachel. And I want everyone who's listening and watching and everything to understand, like, Rachel knows how to coach. Like, this is not just, somebody who went and got a certification online, and no offense to anyone who did, because there's probably amazing people who do that too, but you really are, what you teach and what you coach. And that presentation from April was just so inspiring and empowering, and things that I hadn't seen before or thought of before. I mean, it really is so great, like we all have our place, and so I just really, like, we'll talk about how folks can connect with you here when we're done, but just for everybody listening, like, I'm excited about where you're headed. And it seems like this energy of speaking up and this movement you're talking about, like, we've all been pulled onto this speeding train of, like, it's time for us to go. We cannot wait, and we cannot stop. And that, what I'm hearing from you, Rachel, is that's really what your practice is now. Is if you're on that speeding train, you need to call Rachel, because you're going to need to work through your stuff quickly and get to that other side. Am I right? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes. Like, don't wait, right? Like, don't wait anymore. Don't wait for the right time for the kids to grow up, for your husband to get through school, just don't wait, because you're going to miss so much. And God, I don't want anybody to feel that. I don't care who you are. I don't want anybody to miss. So get on the train, be willing to, like, just step into that unknown and that discomfort. And if you can, grab somebody to help you through that process. That's exactly it. Like, you're ready to go. Because I do. I'm direct. I'm like, let's not wait around. This is our time. Then let's go. And I will help you get there. So look, I tell people, my job isn't to make it easy for you. My job is to help you through it, but you're going to go and experience all of it, but it's just going to be a little less bumpy. It's going to be softer. It's going to be clearer. It's going to be a little more fun than if you have to, like, if you navigate on your own, like, what do? We spin. Just sit there and spin. Yes. So thank you. I appreciate your compliment. I take great pride in being a good coach.
Yeah, you really are. And I'm assuming you're doing virtual in our new little world we live in.
Talk about having to CEO up. I'll tell you, like, this is part of it. Like, our NutritionWorks, we were a brick and mortar, and I had to make that tough CEO decision of, like, this is not good for business, right? From an ROI perspective. Yeah. And so we had to close that, and we are all from NutritionWorks. We're 100% telehealth now, and it's amazing. And for Your Mind coaching, I am 100% telehealth. So it doesn't matter where you are, right? I can serve.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? I mean, I'm fully remote also, and all my journeys of trying to find offices last year, my spirit guides kept saying, be remote, be remote, be remote. And I was like, well, but I want to work, see my clients or whatever. And now it's like, oh, they totally knew.
You're like, thank you.
Yeah, I'm like, I get it. I see what happened here. So yeah, and I've worked remote, I'm sure you have too. I've worked remote. I've been doing readings since the phone was plugged into the wall in 2006. Right. It's so crazy. But anyways, the whole point is you're virtual now. And how do people get in touch with you if they're listening to this and are like, okay, I'm ready? And by the way, guys, I'll put all of her information in the show notes. If you're on iTunes and Spotify, the show notes pop up right on the app. If you're on YouTube, it'll be right in YouTube as well. But go ahead and share for those listening audio.
Yeah. So if you're going to go to our website, I ask for grace because it is in development. And so, but it's there and it's legit. So I'm like, right. That makes us a legit business.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would say if you want to get in touch with me, so everybody, I'm very discerning about who I work with. And I'm very confidential, right? So it's a very safe place. So the best way is to either email me at rachel@freeyourmindcoaching.com, or you can call, and it's, look at this, it's so new. It's 484-531-7400. So that's our phone number. You can call me. Everybody gets a complimentary, what I call a mini session, an investment session, a time for us to talk. and determine if this is a really good match for the both of us. Because I'll tell you, I'm not for everybody. And that's
Yeah.
okay, right? Right. But if I am, then we're going to have that conversation, that private conversation, and figure out how we're going to help you on that speeding train.
I love it. So what are your last words of wisdom? Can you believe how fast an hour goes?
No.
It's so crazy. I feel like I could talk to everyone like we need 10 podcasts per person so we can talk about everything because there's so much to dig into. But what are your words of wisdom, words of advice for everybody who's listening today?
That's such a big question.
I know.
Oh my God. My words of wisdom. Oh, breathe. Grace. My words of wisdom, I think right now are just giving ourselves some grace as we're navigating everything that's new. Right? Grace to feel the way you're feeling, grace to lose your, patience with your kids, grace to, I don't know, just grace, a little bit more love, right? Lots of grace, because at the end of it all, everything is going to be okay.
That's good. That's a perfect way to end. I love it.
Good.
Thank you so much for being on the show. I really love it. And I love you and I miss your face.
Oh,
And
thank
we
you.
have so much. We need to catch up like for realsies.
I know we can actually go have coffee now or something, right?
I know, true. We could. We totally could. And thank you to everybody who's watching and listening. Again, join us on MeWe on the forum. I would love for you guys to share your comments and questions, and we'll connect in with you. And also on YouTube here. And I think that's all. You know what? We have rebranded Buddhist Biohacker. So I think my only update is check out our website. It's lisamgunshore.com. Go to Buddhist Biohacker. We have all sorts of new, great, fun information on there for our conscious content for 11/11D. And the summit kicks off Friday night at 6 o'clock. So I'm pretty excited. It's going to be super powerful. Eclipse, new moon, solstice, possible solar flare events, definitely some spiritual events happening on the planet this weekend from what my collective and many other channels collectives have said. So we are meant to hold space this weekend, and it's going to be a big space to hold. So thank you so much, Rachel, for being on. Thank you for everybody listening. Mwah.
Thank you, Lisa.
Yes, and so much love and light to everyone, and have an amazing, amazing day.